All right, Herbie, thanks for that explainer. Since we have a 12-team playoff, let's figure out how we want to wager it with a little game we like to play called Either, Neither, or Both. Stanford Steve, mustache and a three-piece. The game is very simple. I'm going to give you two teams. You tell me if you'd bet either, neither, or both to make the 12-team college football playoff. And let's start with these two with close odds in the SEC. Bama and LSU. Big fella, either, neither, or both.
To me, it's either Alabama or nothing. When you look at these two teams, still too many questions for me on the defensive side with LSU. The offense is going to be phenomenal with Nussmeier taking over the reins. But that defense, I think going through the whole SEC season is too much to ask. Maybe look at a season win total there. But when you look at Alabama, the roster is still chock full of talent. You go back to the quarterback play. Jalen Milroe played his best football when they were winning games and getting that team hot, including the win over Georgia that catapulted them into the playoff. He's only going to be better with another year. And then the new coach. I get it. People are expecting an automatic regression with Saban gone. But Kalen DeBoer is an unbelievable football offensive mind and has had success everywhere he's gone. And I'm super intrigued now that he takes his talents to the highest level there is in the sport. So I look at Alabama as definitely a possibility to make the playoff.
Reluctantly agree with that beautiful bald head. I'd say Alabama gets in. I'd say LSU out. I think the key point is what Steve just hit on right at the end there. With Saban leaving and all the negativity that surrounded that, what's going to happen to Alabama? How far are they going to fall off? People forget that was one of the worst Saban offenses we've ever seen. With Kalen DeBoer coming in, that unit is going to take a step forward. I have them at dogs in two games, the game where they host Georgia. They'll have a bye to get ready for that game, and potentially the LSU game, which is on the road. But by the time we get there, they could flip that to the favorite. As for LSU, the defense was historically bad last year. They tried, but they failed in the portal to upgrade. Offensively, there's a lot of opportunity, but three starters who went as first-round picks in the draft are gone. So I would say either, and I would take Alabama along the big fella.
All right, agreement there with Stanford Steve and Joe. How about here? 6th-ranked Ole Miss, 7th-ranked Notre Dame. Two teams favored to make the playoff. Joe, I'll start with you. Either, neither, or both.
Either again. This would be with Notre Dame. Love the way the schedule sets up. Have them favored in all 12 games, double-digit favorites in 9 of 12. First game of the year at A&M is going to be tricky, but there are a lot of great spots the rest of the way out. The only other game they won't be a double-digit favorite is the USC game, and I think the Trojans are going to be down this year. That's not something new. Riley Leonard transferring in a quarterback from Duke is huge. That kid can play. I love the hiring of new offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock, who comes over from LSU. He was overseeing the LSU offense last year, so think about what he could do for Notre Dame. Ole Miss is intriguing. Not going to surprise me, Steve, if they find their way in. But I've seen seasons with big expectations and a lot of hype for Lane Kiffin before, and we know how that's played out. So I'm a little bit tentative on the Rebs. I do like Notre Dame. What say you?
I'm going to go both here, Joe. I agree with you on Notre Dame. The schedule. It's I don't want to say it's a joke, but it's kind of a joke when you're talking about Notre Dame. And nobody gets the benefit of the doubt more than the Irish do, and that way they can still go there. I believe they still get in if they lose week 1 in College Station. But going to Ole Miss, I understand where you're coming from. I think we're going to touch on another team where I have not bought in on in years previous where everybody wanted to be. But Ole Miss, I'm in on. Jackson Dart, I think, is set up for a prime year. When you look at this portal king that Lane Kiffin has been known as, 26 4- or 5-star players he's brought in the last 3 years. You go back to last year, Ole Miss, their offense was incredible. Lit up the #1 defense in the country, Penn State in the bowl game. Jackson Dart, 5 second-half deficits he came back from and brought his team back, including being 9 down to LSU in the fourth quarter. I'm in on Ole Miss. I'm in on Notre Dame. Give me both of them to make the playoff.
All right, boys, how about now? Two teams lurking around 2-1 at ESPN BET to qualify for the playoff. Tennessee and Miami. Steve, either, neither, or both.
I'm going to go either, and it's going to be Miami. Tennessee is still a wild card. Tennessee, to me, still is riding that wave of I get it. Now, listen, this is the most optimistic time of the year, right? Nico was great in the bowl game against Iowa. They think everything's set at that position. I just want to see Nico do it through the course of an SEC season. Tennessee does have a lot more talent than they've had on the defensive side of the ball than years previous. They are formidable, no doubt, but I'm going to talk about Miami here. Again, a team that I've not bought in years previous, but when I look at what Mario Cristobal has done, and I get it, everybody's going to talk about the Georgia Tech game last year or the game when he was at Oregon and they lost to Stanford because of a decision he made. But last year, after that Georgia Tech game, Georgia Tech awful loss, 2 weeks later they came back and beat Clemson with a quarterback that never played with him before. What he's instilled in that program and the coaching staff that he has hired is fantastic. And I know people just want to talk about his decisions. He will get out of the way and let his coaches coach, and most importantly, let his players play now that they have elite talent. When you talk about Cam Ward coming in the portal, as exciting a player as there is, but the way Mario has built Miami with the freshman talent you saw last year on both lines of scrimmage sets up for them for a big season, and I expect Miami to make the playoff.
Agreed. Ward comes over at quarterback from Washington State. Damian Martinez at running back from Oregon State. So they hit the portal and they hit it hard. Schedule sets up very nicely. They're going to host Florida State. That's the really the only problematic spot. Other teams are going to make some noise, but remember, there's no NC State on the schedule. Virginia Tech is home. There's no Clemson on the schedule. Florida State is down this year, in my opinion. You survived week 1 at the Swamp, and that line, a little worrisome because anytime it's hit 3, the Florida money has poured in. That's a conversation for another day, though. You survive that, you're in the driver's seat. But Steve touched on the most important point here. Mario Cristobal, late game scenarios. Learn from those. Miami takes another step. Continue to do the same thing over and over again. You'll get the same results. If this were plus 175, I'm out. But you go north of plus $2, I'll play the U here.
I still like Miami if they lose week 1 in the Swamp, Joe. It's not a conference game. They still have plenty of time. There's a lot of change there where teams, you can't overreact week 1 with these teams that have tough games week 1. So I think Miami, again, get over your strides in the week 1 and work on your things as the season goes on. Love what the Canes bring to the table this year.